morning, friend. Welcome back to Acre Homestead. If you are new, my name is Becky, and today we are going to be making up 4 different recipes for breakfast for meal prep, and they are going to go in the freezer so that I have breakfast prepped whenever I don't have time or feel like cooking. So in my blender, I just added 3 cups of oats because we are going to make oat flour for breakfast cookies. We're doing 4 different recipes, but I'm making one in 2 different styles, if that makes sense. So we're doing 2 batches of breakfast cookies. So instead of purchasing oat flour, because it can be very expensive, I'm just gonna make my own. I put 3 cups of oats in my blender. And all you have to do to make oat flour is blend it up. We're gonna do an apple breakfast cookie and a banana breakfast cookie. We are gonna be making sausage McMuffins for the freezer, French toast, and pumpkin waffles. So in this bowl, we're gonna start by making the breakfast cookies this morning. I wanna get going on the breakfast cookies first so that these can be baking in the oven while we make some of the other recipes. My breakfast cookies that I'm gonna make start with the same base recipe, and then I'm just gonna substitute applesauce and bananas depending on which flavor we're making. So I'm gonna make the base of the recipe first, and by melting, I'm gonna melt 10 tablespoons of butter in the bowl. We'll make it all, and then I'll cut it in half and we'll finish it. So I'm gonna go melt this. My butter is almost melted, but I have honey that I need to add to this recipe, and it is crystallized. So I want to melt it just a little bit in the microwave as well. And we need 3/4 of a cup of honey. I'm gonna spray my measuring spoon before I put that honey in there. That's about 3/4 of a cup of honey. See how well that came out? I'm gonna add some salt. 4 eggs. I changed my mind. I wasn't gonna do half banana, half apple, but I think I'm gonna do all apple. So now we need 1 cup of applesauce. This is homemade applesauce from the apples from 2021's garden or orchard. I now have all the wet ingredients in our mixing bowl. I'm gonna add 3 cups of oat flour. Looks like I need to make just a little bit more oat flour. That's one of the reasons why it's so nice to know how to make your own, because it only takes a matter of a second here to make it. Perfect. Now we have our 3 cups of oats in here. We need to add 2.5 cups of rolled oats, a teaspoon of baking powder, splash of vanilla, maybe 2, and cinnamon. You can add chocolate chips or raisins to this if you want. I'm gonna leave my cookies plain. We just mix it all together. This dough is really sticky, so I need to refrigerate this for a little bit before we bake it. I just realized after rereading the recipe that I added 2 tablespoons too much honey. I can't imagine 2 tablespoons of honey would make my dough that liquidy, but we're gonna stick it in the refrigerator and let it firm up a little bit. While that's refrigerating, we can go on to the next recipe. The next recipe we're gonna get going on is the sausage egg McMuffins, and we are gonna make a honey mustard sauce to go on top, which is gonna be so delicious. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I have 12 English muffins here. I'm gonna cut them all in half and have them open face up. And we're gonna toast them in the oven.
Toasting them is a step you don't have to do, but I went ahead and did it today. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. And today was a day that I was going to do it. So I just opened them all up on this cookie sheet so we can get them all toasting at the same time in the oven. Super easy. I'm going to take a little bit of avocado spray and spray on so that they get a little bit toastier. You could use butter, but I just didn't feel like melting butter today. So that's why I use the spray.
I'm going to put these in a 400-degree oven for about 5 or so minutes, just until they're lightly toasted. This next part is where you have a choice, and you get to choose what kind of meat you want to put on your sandwiches. I have some breakfast sausage here. I have to cook this. This is raw breakfast sausage. You could buy the pre-cooked breakfast sausages if you wanted. I just grabbed this at the store. You could use bacon, you could use ham, you could keep it off altogether and have it be just an egg. But Josh and I like sausage. So the easy way I'm going to prep this breakfast sausage to cook it is I'm just going to cut off the plastic casing. I have 12 English muffins, so I'm going to cut 12 slices of sausage off this log, and I'm going to press it out because this will shrink in the oven. And we're going to cook them in the oven to make this a lot easier. I have a piece of parchment paper on my cookie sheet so that it will make cleanup a lot easier. I just need to get 12 sausage patties out of this. The time it takes me to do this, our English muffins should be nice and toasted in the oven, and then we can swap out the English muffins for the sausage. I just took them out of the oven. They just have a nice light toast to them. I didn't want to toast them too much.
If you are interested in any of the written recipes, I will link them down below and you can find them in the description box. I also wanted to let you know I'm not very good about informing you guys of this, but I do have a newsletter that goes out once a week, and it's just kind of a little bit of behind the scenes, first to know type stuff. And if you're interested in joining that and hearing from me in a different form other than video, then I will leave that link down below and we can communicate via email. So here are the cookies. You can see how after they chilled in the refrigerator, they firmed up a little bit. And these cookies are not going to spread like you would think a chocolate chip cookie or an oatmeal. So what I'm going to do is help them along a little bit by just pushing them down, and whatever form they go into the oven is about what form they come out of the oven. So instead of having a really mounded cookie, I just flatten them out a little bit. Now we're going to make a honey mustard sauce to go on the English muffins. I just have some stone ground mustard here that I had in my refrigerator, and I did equal parts honey to mustard, and you could use whatever kind of mustard you have on hand. I personally like the flavor of stone ground mustard, but if you have just yellow mustard, just note that that's going to have a little bit like zingier of a mustard flavor. So I'd probably do like 1 part mustard to 2 parts honey. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put just a little bit on each side of the English muffin. I had a little bit extra, so I just put it on all of the English muffin tops. And this really is what's going to bring your English muffins over the top. The sweetness and the tang you get from the mustard with the super savoriness you get from the sausage, and this is provolone cheese going on here. It just is so delicious. But if your family doesn't like mustard or honey mustard, just leave that off and you can just make a plain English muffin or McMuffin. I have provolone cheese here, and these slices of provolone cheese are pretty big, and so I cut them into thirds and I kind of tighten them up just so that when I go to reheat these English muffins in the microwave, there's not going to be a bunch of cheese that's going to melt because the cheese was hanging off the English muffin. So that's why I broke those into pieces. If your cheese is a little bit smaller, don't worry about doing that. And then I'm going to use this roaster pan. I don't know why I've never thought to use this roaster pan for cooking eggs in bulk before. It worked fabulously for me. So I did put a little bit of spray on the bottom of the roaster pan, and then I cracked eggs. I need to make 12 eggs because I have 12 English muffins, and I don't like runny yolks when I make English muffins to go into the freezer. So I do end up flipping the egg here, and quite a few of them I crack the yolk just a little bit just so that they cook all the way through. I don't want them cooked to where the egg yolk gets dry, but I do want them firm because I just think that when you go to reheat them, the texture is a little bit better than if you put them in the freezer when the yolk is still runny. Yeah, I have to say, I just loved cooking the eggs in that pan. And then once they're cooked, I just put the egg right onto the English muffin. It doesn't matter if you put the egg on the cheese side or not, but I'm just stacking them all the way, everything on one side, so that I just have a side that doesn't have anything when I go to sandwich my English muffins. Now, I did make my sausage patties quite a bit bigger than my English muffins going into the oven because I knew that they were going to shrink in the oven.
Perfect. I wish you could smell these. I'm gonna have one of these for breakfast because I haven't eaten breakfast yet. I've got probably about 3 more that I can make, but I need to get those eggs.
When I did this breakfast freezer cooking, my chickens were not laying enough where I had enough to use their eggs in this breakfast prep. But now, this morning, I just went out and collected about 30 eggs. And so I'm really excited that we're at this time of year because now I have tons of eggs I can share with my friends and family and use for ourselves.
Friends, that was by far the easiest way I've ever cooked eggs because I don't have a griddle, and that worked just perfect. So I'm gonna get these apple oatmeal cookies off this cookie sheet, let these cool, and then I'll get the last of my batter on here. In my oven, with the temperature of the dough and the size cookies I'm making, those took exactly 15 minutes to cook.
This large scoop worked perfect to get uniform cookies. I wanted to make these a little bit bigger than you would make just like a regular cookie because this is for breakfast.
We're making fantastic progress today. I'm going to rinse this out and we're going to make our French toast batter in this. Delicious. I'm eating one of the cookies for breakfast. Perfect. If you want to add nuts or seeds to this, you could too. I wanted to check on our sausage before I get going on the French toast. This sausage looks done. So I'm gonna let this cool. And then we can finish up our English muffins. These are so good. One of the awesome things about doing a day like this is you can reuse your dishes over and over. And so you're making good time in the kitchen. We're gonna use the same thing we cooked these eggs in to cook our French toast. So I'm only gonna have to wash it once and we're gonna get 2 things out of it. Now I know Josh is gonna wanna eat one of these for breakfast. I had one of those cookies for breakfast, but he kept telling me he can smell this and it smells awesome. You can see how I really made those patties really big, and most of them shrunk down to be the exact size for our sausage McMuffin. I think I'm gonna give this one to Josh because it has the biggest piece of sausage, and that is gonna be his breakfast this morning. I got this bowl rinsed out. We're going to make our batter for our French toast, which could not be easier. Almost any time I make French toast, I make extra because French toast reheats really well. Something like French toast is one of those things, or the breakfast cookies, maybe not the breakfast sandwiches, maybe so, or the waffles, is it doesn't take much more time to double a recipe and get twice as much out of it, and you can either pop it in the fridge and just reheat it for later in the week, or you can pop it in the freezer and heat it later. If you don't have time to take a couple hours in the morning or in the afternoon or on the weekend to devote to making a few different recipes, you can just double whatever you're making that morning. So 2, 4, 6, let's see, let's start with that many eggs. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I don't usually follow a recipe per se when I'm making French toast. I just put some eggs, vanilla, I always add vanilla to my French toast. We're gonna add some milk, So we're making a custard for our bread. Here's our custard. This right here is why I like to line my baking sheets with parchment paper. I don't know if there was a hole in my parchment paper or what happened, but somehow the sausage grease got underneath that parchment paper and now I get to spend some time scrubbing that off. So that's a little disappointing, but over the years I've saved myself so much time by giving myself the gift of parchment paper. So if I have to scrub it today, that's okay. We're gonna reuse this again to make our French toast, because all we did was cook eggs in it. There's eggs in French toast, so we don't need to worry about cleaning it. I am gonna get any of these bigger pieces of egg up. This probably isn't necessary, but I'm just gonna take this step real quick. I just have a paper towel here. I normally would be making this too with my homegrown chicken eggs, but my chickens are laying. They're just not giving me quite enough eggs right now to do a day like this. And we're gonna use this same roaster pan to make our French toast because I can fit a lot of French toast in here. I'm heating up my roaster, and I like to use butter when I'm making French toast because that just adds good flavor. So a few packs of butter in the roaster, and I'm gonna get some bread soaking. I'm going to just use all of this egg mixture. I have some more bread in the fridge, so if I made too much for just this one loaf, I'll just keep making French toast until I use up all this batter. So I like to dip my toast or my bread into the egg mixture and let it sit for just a second to help kind of soak up that batter or custard. Sometimes if you just dip it real quick, then it doesn't have time to actually soak into the bread, and then you basically just have an egg coating on your bread instead of it kind of soaking in and creating a nice custard texture throughout the whole piece of bread. I probably made way more mixture here than I need. I've always wanted to try pumpkin French toast, but I've never done that yet. This roaster pan is great to make French toast in. This is the first time I've ever used it to make French toast, and I will definitely use it moving forward. Even though these are not done, I'm gonna get my bread starting to soak in this mixture. And it looks like I'm gonna have a little bit of extra custard that I might be able to pull some more bread out of the refrigerator. Yeah? What?
So good.
Oh, you like your sandwich?
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing me one.
You're welcome. Josh is good. Josh is a fan of the breakfast sandwich. Makes me happy. Okay, let me wash my hands and then we'll flip these. Oh, not quite ready to be flipped. Let's see. Perfect. I like using butter too with making French toast because it almost browns the butter and it just adds just like a caramely, delicious flavor. That one's not ready to be flipped yet. The sausage has cooled enough. I'm gonna go ahead and put the tops on my McMuffins. There we have it.
French toast is really fun because it's one of those recipes that you don't really need a recipe, but you can really change it up and get creative just by changing the bread you use. This is just some whole wheat sandwich bread that I got at the grocery store, but you could use homemade bread. You could use challah. Oh, you know what is so good with French toast is brioche bread. You could use Texas toast, anything like that. Oh, cinnamon raisin bread is really good. And you can really just change it up just based on what bread you use.
I got out a few more slices of bread from the other loaf and it soaked up this batter perfectly. So I'm gonna get these pieces off. I do want these to cool absolutely completely before I put them in packaging. I'm gonna rinse this bowl out and we're gonna use this for the waffles. While I'm waiting for the French toast to cook, I'm gonna measure out my pumpkin. I'm pretty sure that this is 2 cups of homegrown pumpkin, but I forgot to write how much it is. Well, I know it's homegrown, but I forgot to write how much I put in this bag. So we're going to measure it out. I should definitely, in the future, remember to write on the bag so that I don't have to go through this step. Nope, that doesn't look like 2 cups. That's probably why I didn't write it down. I've got 2 bananas out. I was gonna use these bananas and make some cookies with them, but I decided just to do the apple. So we're gonna do pumpkin banana waffles. So that's 2 cups right there. And our French toast is done. Oh, that piece didn't get very brown. I'm gonna brown that up and then we're done with our French toast. The first thing I need to do is melt some butter, so I'm gonna get that going in here first. Now I'm gonna add my pumpkin banana mixture. I kind of mashed up the bananas a little bit with the spatula, but I'm gonna try to mash them up a little bit more with my whisk. This pumpkin in here is the sweet meat pumpkin, and it is the best winter squash I have grown so far that makes the best pumpkin puree. It's nice and thick and creamy. Now we're gonna add 4 eggs. Two cups of milk, salt. We're gonna mix this together till it's nice and smooth. The last couple ingredients are 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. I'm gonna mix those together a little bit in the flour. Now we're gonna mix all of this together. And you know what I think I need to get out instead of this? My Danish dough whisk again. I can link this below. This has been one of the best cooking utensils I have ever owned. Oh, we forgot one thing. 2 tablespoons of pumpkin pie spice. And there is our waffle batter. Now we get to cook these waffles up. This is a waffle iron that I bought, and it is not that great. So if you guys have any suggestions on waffle irons, it works. It's gonna do the job for today, but I would like to get a nicer waffle iron. So if you have one you love, I am all ears. So we're gonna get this warmed up. I don't make waffles very often, even though I love waffles, because I don't like my waffle iron. Growing up, we used to make waffles when we'd have sleepovers at my friend's house almost every weekend. This is gonna take just a couple of minutes to heat up. So while this is heating up, I've been collecting all my dishes on a cookie sheet. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start tidying up so that I'm not wasting these few minutes in the kitchen while we're waiting for that to heat up. I'm gonna use this English muffin bag when we package up our English muffins, but I kind of want to get some of my garbage thrown away. All right, I got all the dishes that I've made so far in the dishwasher. Our waffle iron is ready to go. And I just ran out of cooking spray. Woo! Yeah, I don't think I have any more. Shoot. Now I never can remember exactly how much waffle batter I should put in, so we're gonna start with that and see how that goes. Waffles are one of those things like pancakes. Usually the first 1 or 2 don't turn out. So hopefully this isn't all spewing out. Gonna get a plate out to put the finished waffles on. My waffles are gonna take a while to cook between each one, which is gonna give me a few minutes between each waffle to go ahead and prepare my English muffins for the freezer. So these have cooled down completely. I'm going to wrap them in one piece of saran wrap each. Okay, and the time it took to cook one waffle, hopefully it's done. We got all but 3. Oh my goodness, that's perfect. You can see though, the inside doesn't get as cooked as much as the outside, but that's perfect. That's beautiful. Almost looks like a Belgian waffle because of how much batter I put in there. Awesome. Ooh, it's hot. So I'm gonna try to put about the same amount of batter because that was a good amount. I want to give this a taste test with the banana and pumpkin. That could have been a big mistake. I don't know if this is going to be good or not. After I did it, I thought, maybe I should have put applesauce instead of banana because applesauce has less of a strong flavor. It's delicious. What's interesting is these taste like banana waffles. They don't taste like pumpkin waffles. I'm not getting pumpkin flavor at all other than the pumpkin spice. I've never made banana waffles and that's what these taste like and they're so good. It's surprising too because there's only like 2 bananas in there. Awesome. I am gonna make this again. And I guess I don't really need spray because it didn't stick that last time and I didn't use spray. That is so good. So good.
These waffles turned out so good. I'm so happy with them. I do also have a whole wheat waffle batter recipe I can link down below as well if you're interested in that. That one's really good. It's got a really natural sweetness to it, even though it doesn't have any pumpkin or apple or banana or anything like that. As I am cooking these waffles and taking them out and letting them cook and putting new ones in, I went around the kitchen and tried to get other things done while that was happening. So I got the dishwasher going and I just tried to pick up and get any last little things taken care of while these were cooking, so that when my waffles were done, I was basically done in the kitchen. This took me about 2 hours from start to finish to get these 4 recipes made up today.
I'm going to use some of my reusable silicone bags to put these in the freezer. These have completely cooled. Now I have 2 different styles here. If I ever buy more, I'm going to buy the ones that have this flat edge at the bottom because I can put a lot more in it than the ones that don't. I didn't realize that there is a difference, and I like the ones that open up flat so you can put more into it. Like these waffles, I'm gonna be able to have the bottom expand and I'll be able to put more into the bag. So to freeze waffles, I just have them cool completely. I put them in the bag and then I'm gonna pop these in the freezer. And I'm gonna put 3 in each. That way we can eat them for breakfast one day and then we'll have some waffles for the next few days. So I can link the ones down below that have the flat edge where you can put a lot more into it, because that way you just don't need as many bags, I guess. Into the bags they go.
Oh wow, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Is this French toast?
That's French toast, pumpkin banana waffles, apple oatmeal cookies, and of course the breakfast sandwich that you had for breakfast this morning.
For the waffles and breakfast cookies, I'm putting enough for Josh and I to be able to have breakfast one day and then to have enough for breakfast for 2 more days. And that way we don't have to have it every single day for the whole week if I grab one of these whole bags to thaw and have for the week, because we do like to have some variety. So in this little dish here, we've got some cookies and I just put some English muffins on the top. That's what we're going to have for breakfast this week. So breakfast for this week is completely taken care of. And you can see for the English muffins, I decided just to go ahead and reuse the English muffin bag for an extra layer of protection in the freezer. So these McMuffins they're wrapped with saran wrap, and then they're in here, so they have 2 layers of protection. Those aren't going to last very long in our freezer because Josh and I think those are absolutely delicious, so those will go probably first. And then here I'm going to put my French toast. Now I am putting more French toast in this bag just because I didn't end up wanting to use so many silicone bags by the time I got to this point. So I will just grab one of these stacks of French toast and let those thaw. And we will be able to have French toast for breakfast and then probably one more breakfast if I grab one of those whole stacks. So there's 4 stacks in that one bag. And you can see by having that flat edge, you can put a lot more in this bag. Now, all of these are nice and cold, and they are going to go, or not cold, but they're room temperature. So they're going to go in the freezer. You don't want to put anything that's warm, especially if you're stacking them together, into the freezer. So there they go, and there is breakfast for the rest of the week. I'm going to put a lid on these breakfast cookies. I'm going to put them in the refrigerator just because I like to eat them cold, but you could certainly eat those breakfast cookies at room temperature. And then the English muffins do reheat better if they are thawed. So I'm just going to put those McMuffins in the refrigerator. You can reheat them from frozen, but the texture of the McMuffin is better if you reheat it from a thawed state. So now not only did we get all that done, I am pushing through just a little bit longer, and I'm going to clean the kitchen so that it is a clean kitchen. I don't always do this. Sometimes I get the cooking done and then I call it, but I decided to push through on this morning and get the cleaning done as well. Now on this day, I did decide to pull out a freezer meal for dinner because I was in the kitchen on this morning and I got a lot of stuff done, and I just knew that I probably wasn't really going to want to make an elaborate dinner on this night. And that's one of the beautiful things is by having convenient stuff in the freezer, I can just rely on my previous self's efforts to take care of dinner for us, and we don't have to run out and get takeout because I don't feel like cooking. Not that there's anything wrong with getting takeout. We do that sometimes too, but we like to be a little bit intentional about when we decide to go out because it's gotten pretty expensive nowadays to do that. So I'm going to get these dishes washed up by hand. I'm pretty proud of myself. I don't always do this either. Sometimes dishes that need to be washed by hand end up sitting in the sink a little bit too long, but on this day I was able to accomplish it. And then I was so close to having the kitchen completely put back together, I decided to wash any of the dishes that didn't fit in the dishwasher so that I could call it a success.
Wow, friends, was that a productive morning in the kitchen? Not only did we get breakfast done for today, plus the rest of the week, I have so much breakfast now in my freezer that I don't have to worry about home cooked breakfast for the foreseeable future. The English muffins do really well if you thaw them in the refrigerator overnight before you pop them in the microwave. From my experience, they do heat up best if you do thaw them first, and all you have to do is the night before, take them and put them in the refrigerator. You don't have to do that. You can heat them up from frozen, but the texture is a little bit better if you let them thaw first. The French toast and the waffles, you can reheat in the microwave, the oven, or the toaster. The way I typically do it is I just pop them in the microwave because that's easy and that's the way we like it. But if you want a little toast to it, go ahead and put them in the toaster or in your oven. And the breakfast cookies, just thaw and enjoy whenever you want. I am so glad that I took the time today to do this. Not only did we get that all done, but I also got the kitchen clean, so I don't have to worry about that. And my future self is going to be grateful for the efforts that I put in today. Now I'm going to go ahead and relax for the rest of the day because I got a lot done today. And I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. I hope this was encouraging and maybe gave you a couple ideas of things that you could do to get some convenience foods, homemade convenience foods in your freezer so that you can have some pre-made food whenever you want. And you can kind of control the ingredients a little bit better than if you were to buy them frozen at the store. Nothing wrong with buying them frozen at the store, but if you like to kind of have a little bit more control over what ingredients you use, then go ahead and try making them at home. And like I said, you don't need to take a whole morning like I did today. If you have a morning where you're already making French toast, maybe instead of making just enough French toast for that morning, double it and take the other half that you don't eat and pop it in the freezer for another time, or whatever you're making. Maybe consider doing that. And that's an easy way to slowly fill your freezer instead of like I just did where I quickly did it. I do it both ways, like today where I took 2 hours to take the time to make all this stuff, or sometimes I don't have the time to do that. I'm already making waffles, so I might as well make a double batch of waffles so that I can pop the rest of them in the freezer. I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. I hope you were encouraged or entertained. And if you enjoyed this video, I can pop a couple of my other videos right here you can go enjoy between now and my next upload. If you're new around here, I greatly appreciate if you consider subscribing. We have tons of fun. We have fun in the kitchen, in the garden, and learning together. A lot of what we do around here is just learning and building skills, and I would greatly appreciate it if you wanted to join along in the journey. Once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being you, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.